there's a new model that's been released, and it's caught my eye for a few reasons. The main one being is the namesake. So I work for a company, I've built a company called Inkie, and this model is called Inkling. So yeah, I'm very interested in just for that fact. So a bit about the model. So it's been released by a company called Thinking Machines, and Thinking Machines was founded by some ex-OpenAI execs. Mira Murati is the one who's heading this up, and this is one of the most interesting models that I've seen. They've been sort of making a bit of noise and working a little bit quietly for the last year or so, and now this has come out. So it's a open weight model. So what that means is there's a few different types of model licenses, is essentially how the model's licensed, where you've got closed source at one end and then open source at the other one end, and then open weight in the middle. So what that means is with the closed source, this is like your ChatGPTs, Anthropic, Gemini, that type of thing, where you call into an API to use the LLM and you get a response, but you've got no idea really of what's going on behind the scenes, how it works, how it's trained, just the nuts and bolts of how it is. At the opposite end of the scale, you've got the open source, which is where you've got all of the information, all the full source of how the model works, all of the nuts and bolts, and also all of the training data and the systems that we use to train the model during training. And then in the middle, you've got the open weight, which is it's open source, so you can see the nuts and bolts of how it works, but you don't get the training data and you don't get how it was trained. But you can use it however you want. You can host it yourself, very much like open source, and do what you want, change it, make amendments, retrain it, that type of thing. So the model is a mixture of experts model. What this means is, obviously with an LLM model, like the more parameters it can handle its training with, it's the better it is. But the more parameters, the more processing power it takes, so the more expensive it is to run. So a mixture of experts, essentially. During training, experts are evolved inside of the LLM to handle specific types of tokens. And this happens by, when they're training it, they'll feed tokens into the LLM, and it'll work out through that over time which experts handle the tokens better for a better outcome. So then, and these kind of evolve. It's not preset. They evolve. So you'll typically have around about 8 experts. So when it's running, when you or me will call into the LLM, our tokens will be fed to one of these experts, and that means that all of the parameters. I think it's like this model is like 970 billion parameters. I think only 41 billion parameters are loaded at once, because of the way the mixture of experts works, so, which is quite cool. And another thing that's really interesting about this is they're sort of touting it as not a finished model. It's a base model where they have a bit of software called Tinker, where you can fine tune it to your specific use cases. So, and this is interesting to me because we have a lot of trouble with LLMs in Inkie, where we use it to generate content, and it's quite difficult to, a lot of the time, get it not to generate really obvious AI slop, just because of the way that they're trained, and the way that everyone uses them, and the way the training data that went in. We need to have really strict rules and like guidelines about what to do and what not to do baked into the system. And we've also tried multiple different models for multiple different tasks and multiple different jobs. And it's a constant battle to try and get it to do the right thing. And as models change and evolve, we need to make changes, make the prompts different, try different models. So the fact that we can take like this base model of Inkling, and Sophie's got some very strong opinions about the content because she's a copywriter for 25 years of copywriting. She knows what she wants. She knows what good writing is. And if we can just tweak the model, tinker with it, get it to work exactly how we want, then that's really interesting to us. And the other thing is, like, we could potentially host it ourselves because it's open weight, or do it in something like Hugging Face, where the costs may be substantially less than us using, say, we're using Opus for writing, which does get quite expensive a lot of the time. So, yeah, I'm really excited to give this a try. And if you are using this, let me know and go out and make some cool shit.